Caroline stood in the doorway of her son Dylan's room, her fingers lightly brushing against the wooden frame as she surveyed the chaos of scattered clothes, books, and the remnants of what once resembled a tidy teenage sanctuary. It was a space that had become a reflection of Dylan himself, messy, vibrant, and deeply complex. He was the kind of boy who could light up a room with his laughter, but lately, Caroline had sensed a shadow lurking behind his bright smile. Her heart ached with an unshakable feeling that he was carrying something heavy, something he wasn't ready to share. Before we dive deeper into this story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything to us and is the only way we can ensure these heartfelt stories reach more people. It truly helps us to continue sharing these narratives, so please subscribe now. Caroline's gaze fell upon Dylan's backpack, carelessly tossed in the corner. It looked ordinary, yet she felt a pull, an urge to investigate what lay within. It wasn't the first time she had felt this way. Over the past few months, her instincts had sharpened, warning her that something was amiss. With a sigh, she crossed the room and unzipped the bag, her heart racing with an anticipation that was both thrilling and terrifying. Inside, amidst the clutter, she discovered a stack of letters, neatly folded and addressed to someone named Dylan. A chill ran down her spine as she realized these were not letters meant for anyone else. They were his private confessions. As she unfolded the first letter, her eyes scanned the familiar handwriting, and the words began to blur as tears welled up in her eyes. Each letter revealed a part of Dylan she had never known, a boy grappling with self-doubt, peer pressure, and an overwhelming fear of not being enough. Caroline felt a heavy weight settle in her chest. The realization that her son had been silently battling these demons was a blow she hadn't prepared for. She read on, each sentence pulling her deeper into the world of her son's hidden struggles, his longing for acceptance, and the desperation that clung to his words. The letters painted a picture of a young man who felt trapped in a maze of expectations, both from himself and those around him. Caroline's heart ached with regret for every time she had brushed aside his worries, thinking they were just the typical angst of adolescence. Each letter was a cry for help, a desperate plea for understanding that she had failed to recognize. As she continued to read, she felt an overwhelming urge to reach out to Dylan, to tell him he wasn't alone, that she was there for him. It took her a moment to compose herself, to process the raw honesty spilling from the pages. She understood now that the laughter and cheerfulness he displayed were often a mask, a shield to protect himself from the world. Caroline felt a surge of determination. She could change this. She could create a safe space for him at home, one where he could express his feelings without fear of judgment. But how? That evening, as Dylan returned home, Caroline made a decision. She would approach him gently, allowing him to open up in his own time. She prepared a simple dinner, his favorite spaghetti, and set the table with care, hoping to create an atmosphere that would encourage him to talk. As the aroma filled the house, she glanced at the letters again, a mix of sadness and hope stirring within her. She knew that opening the lines of communication was crucial, but she also understood that it would take time. When Dylan walked through the door, there was a flicker of surprise on his face as he took in the familiar yet welcoming scene. "Hey, Mom," he said, his voice tentative. Caroline smiled warmly, her heart swelling with love and concern. "Dinner's ready, sweetheart. I made your favorite." They sat together at the table, the clinking of forks and the soft bubbling of conversation surrounding them. Caroline carefully navigated the discussion, steering away from anything too personal, yet subtly encouraging him to share his thoughts. Dylan spoke about school, friends, and the little things that filled his day, and Caroline listened intently, her heart aching for the deeper truths she knew lay beneath his casual words. As the evening wore on, Caroline sensed a shift in the air, a gentle opening that allowed deeper conversations to flow. It was in these moments that she realized how important it was to simply be present for him. They laughed, reminisced about old memories, and shared small bits of their lives, creating a bridge of connection that had been missing. But as she watched Dylan, she could still see the flickers of uncertainty in his eyes, the shadows that hinted at the battles he was fighting internally. That night, as Dylan retreated to his room, Caroline felt a new resolve settling within her. She knew that she had to be proactive in helping him navigate his feelings, but she also understood that she couldn't force him to open up. It was a delicate dance, one that required patience and understanding. She decided to create a space where he felt safe to express himself, a sanctuary of sorts, where he could let his guard down and share his fears without hesitation. In the days that followed, Caroline began to implement small changes around the house. She cleared a corner of the living room to make a cozy reading nook, complete with soft cushions and fairy lights. She decorated it with quotes about resilience and self-acceptance, hoping that even if Dylan didn't notice it right away, the messages would seep into his consciousness. She also started leaving little notes around the house, affirming her love for him, reminding him that it was okay to feel vulnerable and that he was never alone in his struggles. Little by little, Caroline noticed a change in Dylan. He began to linger in the living room more often, drawn to the inviting space she had created. They would sit together, sometimes in silence, sometimes talking about lighter topics, but each moment felt like a step forward. Caroline cherished these interactions, for they were the foundation upon which she hoped to build a stronger relationship with her son. Still, in the back of her mind, the letters lingered like a shadow, a reminder of the deeper issues that remained unaddressed. Caroline understood that while the changes in their environment were significant, the real work lay in fostering open communication. They needed to delve into the heart of Dylan's struggles, and that would require courage from both of them. One evening, as they were both curled up on the couch, watching a movie, Caroline felt the moment was right to gently broach the subject. She turned to Dylan, her expression serious yet caring. "You know, Dylan, I've been thinking a lot about how things have been for you lately. If there's anything you want to talk about, I'm here. No judgment, just love." Dylan shifted slightly, his brow furrowing as he processed her words. Caroline held her breath, hoping he would feel the safety she was trying to provide. After a long pause, he finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm okay, Mom. I guess I've been feeling a bit lost." The admission felt like a breakthrough, a crack in the armor he had built around himself. Caroline's heart swelled with both pride and empathy. "It's okay to feel that way, sweetheart. We all do sometimes. Just know that you don't have to go through it alone." Dylan looked at her, and for a moment, she saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. It was a glimmer of the boy who had written those letters, a boy yearning for understanding. In that instant, Caroline knew they were on the precipice of something profound, a chance to truly connect and heal together. As the night wore on, they continued to talk, gradually peeling back the layers of Dylan's emotions. Each word exchanged felt like a step toward healing, as if they were both shedding the burdens of unspoken thoughts and fears. The journey ahead would be long and filled with challenges. But for the first time in a long while, Caroline felt a sense of hope that they could navigate this together, side by side. As the night wore on, they continued to talk, gradually peeling back the layers of Dylan's emotions. Each word exchanged felt like a step toward healing, as if they were both shedding the burdens of unspoken thoughts and fears. The journey ahead would be long and filled with challenges. But for the first time in a long while, Caroline felt a sense of hope that they could navigate this together, side by side. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the bond between Caroline and Dylan seemed to strengthen. It was as if they had entered a new phase of their relationship, one marked by shared vulnerability and a mutual commitment to understanding each other. Caroline made it a point to carve out time for their conversations, be it during dinner or while they were both engaged in mundane household chores. The more they talked, the more Dylan opened up, revealing the intricate web of thoughts that had ensnared him for so long. One evening, while they were folding laundry together, Dylan's gaze drifted toward the stack of letters that Caroline had carefully stored in a small box in her bedroom. The box was a symbol of the journey they had embarked on. It contained not just the letters, but also the weight of unspoken words and shared understanding. Caroline could sense his curiosity, and with a gentle nudge, she decided it was time to share her own thoughts about the letters. "Dylan," she began, her voice soft yet steady. "I want you to know how much those letters meant to me. Reading your words opened my eyes to the struggles you've been facing. I wish I had known earlier. I could have been there for you." Dylan paused, the fabric of the shirt he was folding momentarily forgotten in his hands. "I didn't want to worry you, Mom. I thought I could handle it on my own." Caroline's heart ached at his words. "But you don't have to handle it alone. You have me, and I want to be here for you in every way I can. It's okay to lean on someone. It doesn't make you weak." He looked at her, the weight of her words settling in. "I guess I thought, well, I didn't want to burden you with my problems." In that moment, Caroline understood the depth of his struggle, not just with his own feelings, but with the perception of what it meant to be strong. "Dylan, being open about how we're feeling is a form of strength, not a weakness. I want to share those burdens with you. That's what family is for." As they finished folding the laundry, Caroline felt a sense of relief wash over her. They had crossed another threshold in their relationship, one that allowed for deeper discussions without fear or shame. It was a small victory, but she savored it, knowing it was one step closer to the healing they both needed. In the following weeks, Caroline became increasingly intentional about fostering an environment where Dylan felt comfortable sharing his feelings. She introduced family check-ins during dinner, a time when they could each express their highs and lows of the week. It was a practice that felt a bit awkward at first, but gradually became a cherished routine. Dylan would share stories from school, lighthearted moments with friends, and slowly, he began to peel back the layers of his insecurities. One evening, after a particularly difficult day at school where Dylan felt overwhelmed by the pressure to fit in, he opened up during dinner. "Mom, sometimes I feel like I'm constantly pretending to be someone I'm not," he confessed, his voice trembling slightly. "It's exhausting." Caroline set her fork down, her heart aching for him. "I can only imagine how tough that must be, sweetheart. But you don't have to pretend with me. You can be whoever you want to be, and I'll love you just the same." Dylan met her gaze, the sincerity in her eyes making him feel seen in a way he hadn't experienced before. "It's just hard, you know. I see my friends and how they seem to have it all together. I feel like I'm the only one who struggles." "Dylan, everyone has their battles, even if they don't show them on the surface. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others. But remember, you're unique, and that's your strength. You don't have to fit into anyone else's mold." The conversation lingered in the air, a palpable shift marking the space between them. As they continued to talk, Caroline realized that these moments of honesty were crucial for Dylan's growth. She could see the tension in his shoulders begin to ease, as if she were helping him carry some of the weight he had been shouldering alone for so long. One afternoon, while cleaning out a closet, Caroline discovered an old scrapbook filled with photos and mementos from Dylan's early childhood. The memories flooded back, each picture a reminder of the carefree boy he once was, filled with dreams and laughter. She decided to share it with him, hoping it would spark joy and remind him of the resilience he had always possessed. "Hey Dylan, come look at this," she called, her voice echoing through the house. When he entered the room, she held up the scrapbook, a smile lighting up her face. "Remember these days?" Dylan approached, curiosity piqued. As he flipped through the pages, laughter bubbled up between them. The weight of the world momentarily lifted. They reminisced about family vacations, birthday parties, and the silly times that had shaped their bond. Caroline pointed out the moments when Dylan had been fearless, like when he had performed in school plays or tried out for the soccer team. "This is who you are, Dylan," she said, her finger resting on a photo of him in a superhero costume, arms raised victoriously. "You've always had that spark. It's still there. Sometimes it just gets lost in the noise of life." Dylan chuckled, his eyes glistening with unshed emotions. "I wish I could feel that way again." "You can't. It's all about reconnecting with that part of yourself. You are still that boy, and you can be him again. It's okay to feel uncertain, but don't forget the strength you have inside you. You've overcome so much already." As they closed the scrapbook, a sense of warmth enveloped them. Caroline felt a surge of gratitude for the moments they had shared, for the love that had begun to blossom in the space they had created together. It was a reminder of the journey they were on and the importance of nurturing that bond. After a particularly emotional day, where Dylan had faced bullying at school, Caroline sensed the heaviness in his heart. That night, she prepared a special dinner, one infused with warmth and love. As he sat down at the table, she could see the shadows lingering in his eyes, and she knew it was time to address the hurt he had been carrying. "Dylan," she started, her voice steady but gentle, "I can see that something's bothering you. You don't have to talk about it if you're not ready, but I'm here. Always." Dylan looked at her, the tears that had been brimming in his eyes finally spilling over. I feel so alone sometimes, like no one understands what I'm going through." Caroline reached across the table, her hand finding his. "You are not alone. I want you to know that I understand more than you think. I face my own battles too, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed. Talking about it can help lighten the load. You deserve to be heard." In that moment, Dylan broke down, the weight of his emotions spilling forth like a river. Caroline held his hand tightly, offering her unwavering support, allowing him to express the pain he had been holding inside. The vulnerability shared between them was a testament to the love that had flourished in the midst of uncertainty. As the tears subsided, Dylan looked up at her, his eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Mom. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that." Caroline smiled softly. "Just remember, it's okay to lean on me. We'll get through this together. You are stronger than you know." In the days that followed, Caroline encouraged Dylan to channel his emotions creatively. She noticed that he had a knack for writing and suggested he try journaling as a way to express himself freely without judgment. She gifted him a beautiful leather-bound notebook inscribed with the words, "Your story matters." Dylan hesitated at first, unsure of where to begin, but as he sat down with the notebook one evening, the words began to flow. He wrote about his fears and dreams, capturing the essence of his struggles and hopes. The act of putting pen to paper became a cathartic release, allowing him to reflect on his emotions and gain clarity in the chaos. Weeks turned into months, and as the seasons changed, so did Dylan. The shadows that had once lingered in his eyes began to fade, replaced by a newfound sense of resilience. Caroline watched with pride as he explored new interests, joined clubs, and reached out to friends. The weight of his internal battles hadn't disappeared entirely, but he was learning to navigate them with grace, armed with the knowledge that he was not alone. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Dylan surprised Caroline by bringing out his notebook. "Mom, I want to share something with you," he said, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Caroline's heart raced with anticipation. "Of course, sweetheart. I'd love to hear it." With a deep breath, Dylan read aloud one of his entries. The words flowed from his lips, each sentence infused with honesty and vulnerability. "Today was hard," he began, his voice steadying as he shared. "I felt the weight of everyone's expectations on me again, but I remembered what you said about being true to myself. I wrote about how it's okay to not have everything figured out and how I'm learning to embrace the journey." Caroline listened intently, her heart swelling with pride and relief. This was a breakthrough, a moment where Dylan was not just expressing his struggles but also recognizing his strength. As he continued, she could see the transformation in him. The boy who once felt trapped by his insecurities was now finding his voice. "I've also realized that it's okay to ask for help," he read on, a small smile breaking through the seriousness of his words. "I've started talking to my friends about how I feel, and it's made a big difference. I'm learning that vulnerability isn't a sign of weakness. It's a part of being human." Tears glistened in Caroline's eyes as she absorbed his words. "Dylan," she said softly, "I'm so proud of you. You're brave for sharing this, and it shows how far you've come. You're learning to embrace who you are, and that's a beautiful thing." He looked up from the notebook, his expression a mix of gratitude and relief. "It feels good to finally let this out. I wanted you to know that your support has meant everything to me. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you." Caroline reached out, pulling him into a warm embrace. "You're the one who has done the hard work, sweetheart. I'm just here to cheer you on. Remember, no matter what, I'm always in your corner." As they settled back into their comfortable routine, Caroline noticed a change not just in Dylan, but within herself as well. The journey they had embarked upon had deepened their bond, and she felt a greater sense of purpose in being a mother. They had created a safe space, one where love, understanding, and acceptance flourished. In the weeks that followed, Dylan continued to write, documenting not just his struggles, but also the moments of joy and hope that peppered his days. Each entry became a testament to his resilience, an exploration of his identity that he was gradually learning to embrace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across their living room, Dylan surprised Caroline with a small envelope. "I wrote something for you," he said, a hint of shyness in his voice. Curiosity piqued. Caroline opened the envelope to find a letter addressed to her. As she began to read, her heart raced with anticipation. "Dear Mom," it began, "I just wanted to say thank you for being there for me. I know I haven't made it easy, but your love has been my anchor. I'm learning to believe in myself again, and it's because of you." Tears welled in her eyes as she read on. "I'm realizing that it's okay to be me, and that I don't need to fit into anyone else's mold. I've started to accept my imperfections, and I want you to know that I'm proud of who I am becoming." As she finished the letter, Caroline felt a rush of emotions: relief, pride, and a profound sense of love for her son. She looked up at Dylan, who was watching her with a hopeful expression. "You're amazing, Dylan," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "This letter means the world to me. I'm so proud of you for discovering your voice and learning to embrace who you are." Dylan smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from him. "I couldn't have done it without you. I want you to know that I will keep writing and sharing. It helps me make sense of everything, and I hope to inspire others to do the same." In that moment, Caroline realized that their journey was not just about healing, but also about growth. Together, they had created an environment where vulnerability was celebrated and acceptance thrived. It was a testament to the power of love and communication. A reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was always a path toward light. As the seasons continued to change, Caroline and Dylan forged ahead, hand in hand, embracing each day with renewed strength. The letters, once a source of pain, had transformed into symbols of hope and resilience. They were no longer just words on a page. They represented a journey of understanding, connection, and love that would continue to guide them through life's challenges. And so, as Dylan wrote his final letter of the year, this time not filled with despair, but with hope and gratitude, Caroline knew that they had both emerged stronger, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The bond they had nurtured would carry them through the storms, reminding them that they were never alone in their battles. Together, they would continue to write their story, one filled with love, acceptance, and an unwavering belief in each other.